Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, I sit down and chat with drummer Matt Starr. We talk about playing with Ace Frehley, Mr. Big, how he once played with Kevin DuBrow, Kruisefest, some coaching opportunities he has, and many, many other things. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode. I also want to take a moment and thank Matt. Before we started this chat, we had agreed to do about a half-hour conversation. But Matt was kind enough to spend nearly an hour with me talking all things that he's involved in, and I really enjoyed the conversation. So thanks, Matt. While you are on my YouTube channel, take a moment and hit that subscribe button below. Also, go follow my Facebook page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. Now, without further ado, let's get started with my conversation with Matt Starr. All right, hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. Today I'm really excited to have a real special guest with me today. Kiss fans may notice him from the Ace Frehley band. Fans of 80s rock may notice him from the Mr. Big band and other projects that he's been involved in. Matt Starr, thanks a lot for joining me today.
Hey guys, hey, good to see you.
Excellent. So Matt, I think like me, you were a fellow New Yorker actually when you were first born and a kid. How did you get involved in the music industry, and what was the music you listened to when you were growing up as a kid?
So I saw Kiss. The first record I ever bought was Sean Cassidy.
Okay.
The Do Run Run.
Nice.
and before I take you through the story, I'll tell you now I own two copies. That's a promo copy and a regular copy. But
nice.
That was the first one. My neighbor had it, and I'm like, oh, this looks cool. And I was, I think I was like 7 years old. And then I begged my dad to let me get the record. I got it. And then the next record I got was Kiss Alive 2. And for some reason, I didn't tell anyone at the time. I didn't do this in front of anyone, but there was something inside of me that just said, I have to smash this Sean Cassidy record. if I'm gonna be a Kiss fan or listen to this thing called Kiss and this kind of music, I can't have this in my room. So I smashed it,
Okay.
And anyway, again, it's a great record. It's, it's teen pop. It's totally cool. Now I can appreciate it. But at the time I had to make a decision. So so I saw Kiss in '79 in Springfield, Mass.
Okay.
And Judas Priest opening up Dynasty Tour.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of it for me. So it was like Kiss, Cheap Trick, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Iron Maiden. That was kind of the crux of all the stuff that I was listening to. And to this day, most of that is my favorite stuff. And it's interesting too, because a lot of those are live records. So like, kind of favorite records from each band is Kiss Alive, Cheap Trick Live at Budokan, Aerosmith Live Bootleg. So there's that live element. Because I think those bands, it took a while to break all of those bands. And because I don't think they knew, producers knew how to present them in a recording, because visually it was so much. So how do you get across the blood and the fire and the smoke?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Without making it sound cartoonish.
Yeah, well, you can't go wrong with any of those records. And, one thing I picked up that you're saying with the Sean Cassidy record, that you have the two copies now. So are you a record collector these days? Well, I know a lot of people like to collect vinyl, so you're into that?
Yeah, I am. I like doing it. It's fun, and it's cool because fortunately for my job, I get to travel.
Yep.
So when I go to Japan, I literally bring an extra suitcase.
Oh, nice.
That I can just fill up, and my tech hates it because it gets really heavy. Like, I hate this thing. I don't want to carry this thing anymore.
But those Japanese vinyl are the best.
It's great. Yeah, it's cool. It's got, it's in Japanese, so that's cool. And they always have the obi strip. There's always little extra pictures and inserts and stuff. So yeah, it's just it's like an old guy habit, but it's fun.
Absolutely. No, I like to collect some vinyl as well myself. So then how did you break into the industry? What was your first
Well, I'll say, I played music from a very young age, started playing drums probably around 12, and always wanted to be in a band, always was in a band, pretty much immediately. Never wanted to do anything else. But I was playing in bars and cover bands and things like that for a very long time, and not until about a little over 10 years ago, did I really get clear on what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew what I wanted to do, but so, as far as what you call the music industry, I don't consider, like, when I was playing in cover bands at bars, the music industry. I was more in the bar industry.
Sure.
And the entertainment side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think my first, like, real gig was doing a record with a band called Beautiful Creatures.
Okay.
I think that was in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And they had done their first record on Sony, and this was their second record.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn Sobel was the drummer, who's now, been with Alice Cooper for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn was having some wrist trouble or shoulder trouble or something, and so I came in to kind of help out, and then ultimately ended up, being with the band for a while. We did a record.
Mm-hmm.
Started a band called Hookers and Blow. Again, I don't think this is part of the record industry either, but so in Beautiful Creatures, Alex Grassi, who's now the guitar player in Quiet Riot.
Yeah.
So we're both from Connecticut, and we're always kind of scheming and trying to come up with something new to do, and a way to get out there, make some money, have some fun. And Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses came in and played keyboards on the Beautiful Creatures record, and we were all just sitting around talking. And Dizzy was like, man, I kind of want to have a band like where we just play like Bowie and Stones and cool stuff. We just rock out. And we were both like, well, yeah, let's do it, man.
Yeah, sure.
And then it was like a couple of days later, he called and he goes, hey, I got the name. Hookers and Blow. And so we were like, yeah, sounds good. He's like, you get it? You get it? I'm like, sure. Yeah, pretty straight ahead.
Pretty straightforward, absolutely.
So anyways, doing stuff like that. And I had the pleasure of working with Kevin DeBro for a while. We did some live dates together, and that was a beautiful experience. But then after that, I went off and I sing as well. So I was writing and recording and had a band. We did a record with Mike Chapman, this great producer, and all this stuff. So I was kind of out of the thing for a long time. And coming up on 40, I just kind of had like I guess looking back now is a midlife crisis.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Where I just, all those promises I made to myself, like, oh, one day I'll do that, or I'll be famous by this time, or I'll be successful. It's like, well, dude, you're almost 40. So when's this going to happen?
Right. Right. Absolutely.
And kind of just had to, I had a big shift, just realizing that I had the talent and I knew what I wanted to do, but it wasn't happening. So something wasn't right. And, ultimately realized that it was my mindset and my emotions, messing things up for me and preventing me from being successful the way I wanted to be. So that was a big moment. But anyway, so that's kind of when I think really sort of got into the music industry.
Right. Now, I thought I read somewhere, and maybe this is wrong what I read, but during those early times when you were playing with some of those artists you just mentioned, did you have one of the bands you were in, did they license some songs to SpongeBob SquarePants, the TV show? Did I read that properly?
Yeah. Was that Beautiful Creatures? Beautiful Creatures had a song in a Sandra Bullock movie.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it. And I think that was the Automatic Music Explosion, actually, which was the band that we did the record with Mike Chapman. But yeah, so I had a publishing company for a little while because we had I've always loved songs and songwriting. And so I started writing songs, and then we had this band, and we were getting contacted by different people. And someone from MTV had reached out and said, hey, would you be interested in using your music in our shows? And we said, yeah, sure. So, and then we started getting paid. I was like, damn, this is cool. So ended up representing other bands in our scene and placing their stuff as well. And so I did that for a few years, and it was cool. It was enjoyable. It wasn't really like a passion of mine, but at the time it worked. So So yeah, we had a bunch of things on different TV shows and stuff.
That's cool. Yeah. So obviously you were having some level of success during that time. At what point do you meet Ace Frehley?
I met Ace Frehley on the first day of rehearsal, or actually the third day of rehearsal. So I had somebody reach out and say, hey man, Ace's drummer just quit. And
when is this exactly? Around what year?
I'm so bad with years, but I think 2012.
Okay, so like somewhere around 8-10 years ago, that time period, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I just started calling everybody I knew, and this is a several months after I went back to playing drums. So like anyone who knew me in LA knew me as a singer. So if I had any connections or contacts at all, they were like, oh yeah, you're the front guy, you're the singer for that Automatic Music Explosion thing. So I had to go out and re-educate people. No, I play drums. And then you know how it is. It's like if they know you as one thing, oh no, I play drums. They're like, oh really? Okay, good for
Right,
you.
but are you any good? Right.
I'm a drummer first,
Right.
you know. So
Sure.
so I had to really get out there as a new guy, and so I went through all my phone contacts, and I'll keep this story short because there's a bunch of little details that are kind of funny. But anyway, Brent Woods, who plays with Sebastian Bach now, and he plays with Taylor Hawkins in Chevy Metal. He was one of the guys he'd seen me play at a jam, and I called him, and he goes, "Oh yeah," he goes, "I know Anthony, the bass player, Anthony Esposito, who had been with Lynch Mob and was was working with Ace at that time and tour managing, and said, I know Anthony, you'd be great for that gig. I'm going to connect you guys." So Anthony and I had a conversation, and that it just felt really good in the conversation because he was like, "Look, dude, the drumming is one thing." He goes, "But we need someone who can sing all the Paul Stanley songs."
Right. Okay.
And I thought, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" And that was why I didn't go back to drumming for a long time, because I thought I want to sing, and I can't be singing. And like, how am I going to sing lead and play drums? Like, I'm not Phil Collins, Right. And I ended up getting this opportunity where it's like, well, how about you get to play a bunch of Kiss songs and you get to sing Love Gun and I Want You, and so. It was just showed me that like I had no idea what was possible. And once I was just willing to just go for it, that good things happen. So yeah, so went to New York, played with Todd and Anthony. We played for like 15 minutes. They're like, "All right, cool, see you later." I felt like it went well, you know what I mean?
Right,
but they were being all New York.
Right.
And so then I got a call a couple weeks later. You got the gig, sent me the song list. I looked at it, I'm like, I know every single one. I sent this to my friend. I sent this to my friend Jurgen Carlson. He plays bass in Government Mule. I go, "Hey, I just got the Ace gig." I go, "Look at the set list." He just writes back, "Fuck you."
That's great.
He's a huge Kiss fan too, and it's just like every single song, that you'd want to play. "Shock Me," "Deuce," "Hard Times," Rock
everything you grew up listening to.
Yeah, so it was really cool. The only challenge was learning how they were playing it. Nowadays, you know what I mean? Because they weren't necessarily playing it just like the record. They had endings that were different stuff. Right. So so we had 2 days of rehearsal, and then Ace came in on the third day, and man, he was cool. It was funny because it was we're hanging outside. It was outside of the old Hit Factory, which was the Gibson guitar showroom in Manhattan, and he comes walking down the street like he's like a block and a half away. I don't know where he came from. He's got his guitar, and it was like in the Night video or whatever.
Into the Night.
It kind of looked like that. And I was like, "Hey, there's the dude,"
Right.
And I remember just feeling like I kind of don't want him to say anything to me. I just want him to just be like, "Great, thanks,"
Right.
And he said hi and everything, and that was cool. And we kind of shot the shit a little bit, but then we started playing, and after like the second song, he gave me a thumbs up. We did like 4 more songs. He goes, "All right, we're good." And he laughed. And I said to Anthony, I go, "That's good, right?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, because he doesn't really want to have to rehearse all this shit.
Right.
You sounded good. And he's just like, "Okay, I don't have to worry about it."
And he's satisfied. Right.
Yeah.
Very
but
cool.
I'll say the first song I ever played with Ace was "God of Thunder."
Oh, really? Wow.
We were in rehearsal. He's getting his tone, and he just started playing the God of Thunder riff.
Right.
So I just started playing along.
Sure.
And then when it came to the verse, he went like that. So I'm like, "You got something."
That's awesome.
And we made it to about the solo. And we went through the solo, and that was it. And he goes, "Yeah, you sound pretty good." He goes, "You spit blood too?" I said, "Yeah, sometimes."
That's great. So as a fan for years, and like you said, you weren't a kid at that point. That must have been pretty cool for you to be like, "Hey, I worked all these years." Like you said before, maybe your head wasn't 100% in the right spot, but you got it in the right spot, and now all of a sudden you're playing with somebody who was like a teenage idol, probably for you, right?
Yeah, it was surreal in one way, and then in another way, I was like, "Well, yeah, of course."
Right.
I've always been playing with Kiss in my mind. Like I sat in my room and played to the records, and then like imagined them on the drum riser and all that shit. Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't realize I was doing visualization as a 14-year-old,
Right,
but I felt like once that popped and the Ace thing came into being, that like the universe had a whole list of things for me that it was like waiting to give me once I was receptive and in a right place. And it's like, okay, here's the first one. This is the first thought you ever had, you know, Kiss.
Sure. Right, absolutely.
And then there's others that followed, but
Mm-hmm.
it started with that. So yeah, it was really cool.
Cool. And then right after that, I guess you went into the studio with him and you recorded the Space Invader album, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, I think you're the only drummer on that entire album, which for Ace is very unique. I know his 78 album, he has Anton Fig on the whole album. And maybe, I think Second Sight, it might be only Jamie Oldacre. So you're in like rare company where Ace uses only one drummer for an entire album, the Space Invader album. What was that like recording that album?
Well, I didn't know we were recording an album. So
okay.
He said, I'd have my son Xander. We were in the hospital for 3 days. Then we're ready to go home. Day before, he calls me. Hey, what's going on? Hey, you want to go into the studio tomorrow? I got this place up north I want to check out. Mm-hmm. And I was like, he go, yeah. He goes, what are you doing? I go, well, we just had a baby. And he goes, what? I go, we just had a baby. He goes, oh, so, you know, yeah. So, you know, you can you do it or what? And I said, yeah, hold on. And I said to my wife, I said, you know, and she's like, you got, you know, go, it's work.
Go,
work. So he goes, okay, cool. All right, cool. I'll see you tomorrow. So he comes by, he picks me up and he goes, did you just say you had a baby on the phone? I go, yeah. He goes, oh my God, congratulations. But I don't think he
didn't register at first.
To hear, you know, that we just had a kid. And so anyway, we went up there and we played a couple things. And one of them was the Joker. He goes, you know, the Joker by Stephen Miller? I was like, yeah, you know, sure. So we played through it. It's like, all right, cool. And then we came home a few days later and he goes, oh, that Joker's going to sound really good. You know, I said, oh yeah, when we're going to record it again? And he goes, oh no, that's it. You know, we did it. I was like, oh shit.
Right.
So, you know, that was always the vibe. We started with that vibe, and I just recognized that, like, how relaxed I felt when we were just messing around. I didn't realize, you know, I knew we were recording, but I didn't know like we were doing a record.
Right.
But he liked the studio, and he was like, okay. So we went back a few more times, and we did the whole record. But it was just me and Ace. You know, myself, Ace, and the engineer.
Nice. And
I kept asking, like, hey, is Anton going to play on the record? And he was like, I don't know. You know, we'll see.
Right.
I felt like he was just kind of, if things went, if he needed to bring in Anton, he would. But things were going good, and you know what? It's cool. So that was it. And I said to him, I said, well, if Anton plays, I want to come to the session. He goes, yeah. He goes, well, you just do what we're doing right now. It's the same thing. He goes, I never record with the bass player. I always just record with the drummer. I thought that was an interesting thing. But it was super cool. Like, the process was really natural. You know, he would show me the song in the control room. Maybe he had a demo of it, or maybe it was just like some riffs, and then he would work it out. And then, so it was all on the spot. And, you know, I like working like that.
Sure. Okay.
We go in the room, play it once or twice, maybe change the tempo, or hey, let's do 2 of these and 4 of those. Okay, cool.
Right.
Then do a couple more takes, and then that's it. We're done. Right. So it's pretty spontaneous, and it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. But then the album comes out, and maybe it's because you had just had a child. You actually didn't go on tour with him, right?
I didn't, because I had gotten a call from Billy Sheehan.
Right. Okay.
From Mr. Big, and asking me if I was open to going out with them.
Sure. So
they had like 2 months of touring. It was like, second show was going to be Budokan in Japan, and we didn't have anything with Ace at the moment, and so I called, you know, that they offered me the position, and I said, sure. I said, let me just make a call, you know, talk to Ace. So I called him, told him what was going on, and he just said, look, man, he goes, you know, you know, you got to work. I get it, and you know, so he's like, you go do your thing, and you know, we'll work it out. Sure. And so then at that point it was like, you know, he's saying, well, who should we get in the meantime? You know, so we talked about a bunch of different people, and I actually suggested Dean Castronova. I told him this because I knew Dean was a huge Kiss fan, and he sings his ass off. And he checked some stuff out, and then he ended up going with Coogan because he played with Scotty before. That felt like a natural fit. Right. And so then, you know, they did that, and so that was we made the switch at that point.
Awesome. Now, obviously, like you said, you were playing with Mr. Big for a while. So I'm not a musician. I've dabbled with drums 20 years ago, but I can't play. But I always thought Billy Sheehan was a great bass player, and I could only imagine as a rhythm section, you and Billy Sheehan, what was that like playing with somebody like him?
Well, it was killer. Yeah, it was amazing. but it was a completely different thing because,
Absolutely.
Most bass players have a certain kind of sound, there's certain frequency that the bass resides in, and there's a typical bass drum relationship. And Billy has his own thing, which is what's so amazing. But it took me a while to understand what he was doing, and because a lot of times you end up, following each other. But I realized, like, just kind of go down the middle and let him dance around you. It was almost like a jazz kind of approach, where bass, rock and roll is based in rhythm and blues, so it's got like the Motown thing. So the bass drum and the bass guitar, they lock, they make a thing.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Big always had that, but a lot of times when you're playing live and the songs, it's more of a jazz thing where you're playing you're just keeping it down, and then the instrument is kind of weaving in and out.
Right.
And so again, it was, a short answer is it was fucking awesome, but it was a different experience for me. So it kind of opened up a whole other side of my approach.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember, whatever it was, 89, 90, when their first album came out, and the song Addicted to That Rush, and that bass line to me was incredible. I absolutely love it. But it's not like you were saying, like a Kiss song where it's like maybe a bass line's like do 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 do. This bass line was all over the place, and I'm imagining as a drummer, that's a much different style to play a song like that than maybe a Shock Me or a Deuce or something like that.
Totally. Yeah, it's definitely different. And it was something that I didn't grow up on. Like, so I told you, for me it was Cheap Trick, Kiss, AC. Iron Maiden was like the most progressive thing that I was playing. But I wasn't into Rush or any of that stuff. So for when that opportunity came up and I was learning the Mr. Big stuff, like, there was a whole different world.
Absolutely.
A whole different approach, so it was really amazing. And working with Pat Torpy was just such a pleasure and an honor, and really just an awesome experience, coming in and just really kind of helping him, if he could do it, cool. If he couldn't, okay, I'll do it. And, just working together with him, that was amazing. And every day he'd, hey, did I ever show you this thing? And he'd show me all this stuff. He's just like, all those guys are like that, but they're just so obsessed with their instrument,
Absolutely.
And they're so interested in pushing the boundaries and getting better every day. So that was really inspiring.
Absolutely. Now, I know obviously you went back to playing with Ace. Do you still play with Mr. Big at all, or has that gig kind of gone to the side for the time being?
Yeah, I don't play with Mr. Big, and I'm not sure what their plans are moving forward. Pat had died in February of 2018. I think
it's 18, yeah, I think so.
Right. And so we had about 2 months worth of dates on the books, and I kind of thought they were going to cancel them. And if they had, I would have completely understood. And so would the fans, so would anyone,
Sure.
But they chose to keep the dates and honor the dates, and we did them. And it was cool, but I'm not sure. I think, I don't know, but I think that it was maybe a lot more difficult for them than they thought it might be. Because none of them are kind of like sit around and talk about your feelings kind of guys. They're, okay, let's get shit done,
Right,
and so, but then you get halfway through and it's like, ooh, wow. So again, that's just kind of my perception of it. But yeah, so I'm with Ace, and whatever they're gonna do, that remains to be seen. That's up to the guys.
Absolutely. So you returned to Ace. I know you recorded a couple of songs for the Spaceman album, a couple of songs on Origins Volume 1. When you were doing Origins Volume 1, I think you're on Fire and Water, right? So did you know that Stanley was going to be on that song also when you were doing the drum tracks? Or?
Yeah, I did. So he calls me on a Saturday. We're supposed to have a session. We're going to do something else. He goes, hey, I don't do an impression of him, but anyway, he just goes, hey. And when I think of Ace, it's like, hey,
it's hard not to, right?
Right. But he says, hey, Fire and Water by Free? Or he goes, learn Fire and Water by Free. I go, okay. And then what? Because I already know it.
Right,
I love Free. So he goes, oh, we're going to play that, and Paul's going to sing on it. I was like, oh, amazing, So we did that, and then I'm like, so who's going to play bass? He's like, I don't know, maybe I go, I think you should get Gene.
Oh, wow.
And he had been talking with, like, he goes, yeah, I want to have Gene play on something. Like, they kind of always been part of the conversation. I said, you should get Gene. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I might play bass, or maybe you're gonna have Chris play bass. I said, nah, you should get Gene. I think you should get Gene. Because then it's gonna be on a recording with
Sure, of course.
Paul Ace and Gene. So I don't know. It wasn't Gene. I'm not sure who ended up playing bass on it, but yeah. So Paul sang on it, and to hear that voice,
absolutely.
Over those drums, it was super cool.
Absolutely. Now, while you've been playing with Ace, to me, there's a couple of concerts that stand out. I was at the Jersey Expo when you guys did, the whole 1978 album. You sang, I guess it kind of brought you back into some of the singing you were talking about before. You sang Wiped Out during that show. What was that show like for you? And I got to imagine that song is nearly impossible to sing. It felt to me, if I try to sing along to the album, I can't keep up.
Yeah, it's funny because I know Anton has a credit on that song. Yeah. And if you listen to the lyrics and the melody and the phrasing, it's very percussive. And it's kind of it's different than any other Ace tune. So
absolutely.
I'm like, I can do it. Let's do it. And then I'm like, holy shit, there's a lot of stuff because the drum beat's got this kind of
absolutely
skip thing. And but anyway, it was cool. It was totally great. It's just about finding the spot to take a breath, really.
Absolutely.
Was the deal, because it's kind of nonstop in all the areas. But I always love that song, and I love when he goes at the last verse. He goes, "Seen that already. I had too many. Fire would have caused a blaze." And you can hear him. He's laughing.
Okay. Yeah.
You go back and listen to it, and Fire would have caused. You can tell he's smiling.
Sure.
Which
Absolutely.
I always loved that about McCartney. McCartney would kind of giggle here and there on different lines throughout the years, and it was always like this cool spontaneous thing. But again, I used to play to that record front to back.
Right.
Every single song, and then it's like, oh, cool. Well, we're gonna do every single song. Yeah. So I think the biggest challenge was for Ace, because he was the least familiar with those songs. He had written them, but he hadn't ever played them.
Right.
And there was a couple that Rip It Out and Speeding Back and Snowblind. I don't think even Ozone really, and then New York Groove. But so yeah, it was cool to go through that and then work those songs up. But it was a lot of fun, and it was special, again, knowing. Being a Kiss fan myself, I know what it meant to all the fans to do that.
Now, I know that day there was talk that he was going to do another one of those types of shows with you guys in like a big theater. Any other talk about that, or has that talk kind of died down?
There was talk about that. I don't know. I mean, I'm not really part of those conversations. I remember hearing talk about it at the time, and because it was the 40th anniversary of the solo album. So I don't know if like that, that kind of opportunity, that anniversary went, away, and then that's that or what. But yeah, there was talk about that. Would have been fun.
Yeah, no, hopefully one day he decides to revisit that. To me, another batch of shows that I thought was cool. I've been on all the Kiss cruises, Kiss Cruise 8, the Ace Frehley Band. You guys were on the cruise, and you guys did a bunch of deep cuts on those. I think it was 3 shows on the boat. And, I know some people made criticisms like Ace didn't know every word of the deep cuts. I honestly did not care at all. The music sounded incredible. So what if he forgot some of the words to Two Sides of the Coin? Did not matter to me. It was tons of fun to hear those songs. What was it like for you as a fan, kind of revisiting some of those deep cuts that, Ace has never played before and quite honestly hasn't played really any of them since?
Yeah. Again, it was a lot of fun, and it was like Dark Light. Is kind of weird.
Yes, absolutely.
Like the arrangement of it, and there's a lot of syncopation. So that was one of those ones like, oh yeah, I know it. And then when I learned it, I was like, oh geez, but to really play it on stage and kick ass, that's another story. Yeah, it was interesting that, and thankfully as a kid, I used to play the Torpedo Girl.
Okay.
All the time. You know what I mean? I knew that. I knew that cold. So that was like cool, because otherwise I would have had to learn that, and I would have been like, what the heck is this?
Sure, absolutely.
I was familiar with all that. But that was fun. Yeah, Save Your Love was killer.
Absolutely. I think you guys actually did Save Your Love for a couple of shows after the cruise, and then it kind of, I'll say to me, unfortunately, fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has Ace spoke about maybe doing any of those songs again in some of his shows? I know he doesn't have a lot of shows set up for this year, but no. Okay.
No, you know,
So-
a lot of it is, and this is with a lot of, you know, artists that are, you know, had been doing this for a long time. It's like, okay, you're going to get it in the memory, and then how many shows are we going to have to reinforce this?
Right.
Because if there's like 2 shows and then we don't play for a month,
right.
it's gone.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's gone. It just evaporates. And so you really need you need to have like a tour and then learn it for the tour. Go do the tour, and then it gets burned into your to your brain. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So but I know he always does like to do little surprises for the fans and stuff.
So then that brings us to, you know, by the time this is out, you know, the Kruisefest announcement will have been officially made. And I've spoke with Joe, and Joe said that Ace plans on doing a bunch of deep cuts during his Kruisefest show. I'm guessing this is way too early. You guys probably haven't spoke about it at all. But if he says to you, hey, you know, Matt, pick 1 or 2 songs that you think that we should do. Is there any that come to your mind that said, hey, you know, as a fan, I really love this song. I wish we did this?
Escape from the Island.
Yes. All right. I like that one.
Plus, we get to have a siren, which is awesome.
Of course. And a little drum part in the middle, which...
Yeah, and the drum parts, you know, that's fine. But just that...
Absolutely.
So cool. And Eric Carr played his ass off on
Absolutely.
that record. I mean, obviously that record, you know, there's varying opinions about it. But, you know, Ezra and the drum sounds are great. And Eric really just played great. And for his first record, must have been kind of a bummer for him because it wasn't that well received. But he played so well. So that would be one. And then we worked up a song called Insane, which is Frehley's comment tune.
Yeah, absolutely.
We played it. We didn't play it with Ace. But we did do it for the cruise.
Yep.
That was a contender, and then it didn't end up happening. But I had never heard that song before. But I was like, "Oh, this is cool."
Yeah.
You know, and then In the Night or Into the Night.
Into the Night. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of slow, but it's a really good song.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So those would be some of my. I think we've done all the kind of the classic Kiss tunes.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, we've touched on all the 70s stuff, so
absolutely. You know, and to me, if he touched on some of the Frehley's Comet stuff, that would be cool. The fans haven't heard that stuff in 25, 30 years in concerts, so
right.
You know, I'm looking forward to that show. I know it's going to be a great show. The tickets are on sale Monday. You know, I'm going to be probably first online getting the ticket as quickly as I can for that show.
Awesome.
So I know currently right now you're in what I'll call like a super group, and you guys are just releasing some new material. Black Swan, I think is the name of the band, and you just released a couple of singles, I think, the last month or two, Shake Your World and Big Disaster, if I'm not mistaken, the names of the songs. So talk a little bit about that and some of the guys that are in that band.
Yeah, sure. So, the band's called Black Swan. The record's called Shake the World. It came out February 14th.
Yep.
It's available, you know, all digital, CD, LP, the whole thing. So that is Jeff Pilson, who's been with Foreigner now for a long time, but started out with Dokken is when I first heard of him, as many of us did.
Yep.
Reb Beach on guitar. Reb plays with Whitesnake these days, and Winger.
Yep.
And then Robin McCauley, who's just such a great singer.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Really soulful rock and roll voice. So it was very, very cool. So, yeah, you know, I think Jeff called me about that probably almost this time last year. And I said, yeah, sure, of course. I love the idea. And I think with these records, a lot of times these days, you know, a label will get people together and they'll make a record. You could get 4 talented people in a room. It doesn't mean that it's going to be any good.
Right, true.
Right. Like each person's performance will be what they do. But as far as chemistry, there's just no way of knowing that. But when I heard the songs, I was like, wow, these are really good songs. And then when I put my drums on them, everybody was like, whoa, this is really cool. Like, you know, that was like the final piece, right?
Right, sure.
And we all heard it and thought, damn, okay, well, you know, we're just going to do the record and see how it goes. But this is really good. And then the response has been similar. And it's on Frontiers Records, but I think it's outperforming any of the records that they've released to date, which is cool. And, you know, we've had some different offers to tour.
Yep, that's what I was going to ask you. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm not the band's spokesman, but having spoken with the band. I think we're all open to the idea. Like we all like the idea of playing together. We all love the record. So it would just need to make sense because everybody in the band has a gig or two.
Right. Like so you said, Jeff's with Foreigner. Right, Jeff's with Foreigner. That's right. Yep.
And then once, you know, the other part of it is like, okay, so we're going to have to learn the record, right? Because we don't, I said, it'll be fun. We'll have to learn all these songs.
Right.
But, you know, okay, so we're going to learn, 12 songs or whatever, and then get a show together. Cool. For what? One show, two shows? That's not going to make sense. So we need to have something that makes sense. So, yeah, but I think the answer is that everybody's open to the idea, and there's definitely offers and opportunities that are coming in. So, we'll see.
Yeah, and I would say for anybody watching this, if they haven't checked it out, check it out. I've heard it. It rocks to me. It was a great album. So to me, it's worth checking out for anybody who hasn't done so. Just one more question about Ace, if you don't mind. So obviously we mentioned Origins Volume 1 before. We know he's doing Volume 2 right now. Are you recording with him for that?
Yeah. So I played on that, and it's done.
Excellent.
It's mixed. I've heard mixes. I don't know if Ace has signed off on all of them yet, but it's really good.
Okay. Any idea when it's coming out? I know we've heard all different things.
I don't. I did a post the other day, and I just said, hey, are you ready for Origins Volume 2? We had John 5, Lita 4, Bruce Kulick, so many talented people on it. And what have you heard about the release date? And I think people thought I was like, messing with them. I'm like, no, because I haven't heard anything either. So I wasn't actually, whenever it comes out is when it comes out. But I think I had heard about March, but that was like back in October. And then that kind of, that went away. So, I'm sure they'll try and coincide it with when the shows are, and right now we got shows starting in June. So again, that's just a speculation, but yeah, we'll see.
Right.
We'll see. But it's a great record. Sounds great. And Ace keeps surprising me with his vocals, like he'll say, hey, we're going to do this song or that song. I go, okay, cool. And then I come in and hear his approach. I'm like, damn, you kind of think he does his Ace thing, but he has a way of making anything he does sound like Ace.
Agreed. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's definitely, one of his things that he's just a natural at that, and Alex Salzman, who works with Ace and does all the engineering and stuff, is really good at, helping, pick songs that are going to be good fit, so yeah, but it's cool. It's fun.
Awesome. So I know Kiss fans will be excited when that comes out. I know you also offer through, I guess, your Facebook page and maybe your website as well. I don't know. I saw recently you're offering to play drums for people, like on their demos or something. Did I read that properly? Is people able to like send you in demos?
Yeah. I go into the studio when I'm home about once a month. Okay. And because I get either from record labels will have me play on a record, or artists will reach out to me and play on their music, and so. Yeah, I just put that out there. It's like, hey, I'm going to be in the studio next month or next week. If you would like to have me play on your record, send me a message. Let's work it out, So yeah, I do that. If anyone's interested in that, they can just message me on Facebook. And we don't need to be friends. I'm over 5,000. I can't accept any more people. Hey, man, I sent you a thing and you didn't respond. And I'm wondering if everything. It's like, dude, it's an algorithm. Bro.
Absolutely.
I don't screen people. if someone. There's no more friends to be had now, but in the beginning, I just would accept everybody's requests. It's not like it is my personal page, but it's for my business, for professional. So I just accept everybody. But anyway, you can just send me a message, and yeah, and I think a lot of times people think, well, geez, I can't afford that, or they're not going to play on my stuff. But it's like, hey, let me listen to it, and maybe you can't afford it, but maybe you can. It's just a matter of. I'm a musician. I love playing music. I love playing drums on great songs. If you got great songs, I'd like to hear them, and let's do it.
No, I think that's such a cool thing that you're doing, because I think back to, again, when we were kids growing up, and to me, our musical idols seemed like they weren't real. pretty much, right? And now this, connecting through Facebook and you giving people an opportunity to say, hey, if I'm into your stuff, I'll play on your stuff, contact me on Facebook. To me, it takes it to a whole nother level that as a fan is, to me, beyond cool. Again, I'm not a musician, but if I was, I'd be like, oh, hell yeah, I want Matt to play on one of my songs. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's, that's technology has brought us together. In other ways, I think it's isolated us, but that's a whole other thing.
Absolutely.
But, I'm able to play on records and I'm able to produce bands. I produce bands as well. And I'm able to work with artists that don't live in America. I just did a record for the guys in the Netherlands, produced something for someone in Italy. I got a band down in South America that I'm working with. And because we can do this and go, play that part again. Sure. Hey, what if you did this? Hey, let's double that. Let's triple. Okay, so go record this. Send me a recording, and then we'll do another call tomorrow. Like we're able to do pre-production and work together.
Excellent.
And then they can just send me the tracks, and I can mix them here in LA. So that's enabled us to connect with one another in a way that we could not have done before.
Absolutely. And then
back in the
yeah, and I was gonna say you're offering coaching, I think, to people through internet and through Facebook as well, right?
Yeah, so that's something that was kind of born out of as drummers. We do drum clinics.
Sure.
And so, you go to a music store and you speak to a room full of drummers. But most of the questions were about career and how did you get this gig and how did you get that gig? And they weren't necessarily wanting me to tell them like crazy stories. They were wanting me to give them the secret,
right.
And I'm like, well, I can talk about that because for many years I did not know the secret, right? I didn't have a gig. And now I have many gigs.
Sure.
And so I started really focusing on that. And I said, you know what? I want to talk to all musicians, not just drummers, because this is something everybody faces. And then when the more I did this, had a guy who owns a tech company up in Calgary, and he goes, I hear what you're talking about. He goes, this is for everybody. He goes, I want my employees to hear what you're talking about. So he hired me to come up and speak to his employees. And so understanding that the stuff I'm talking about, these are universal concepts and principles, and so and it works. It just works, and because I can show you what doesn't work because I did that for a while. Right, that didn't go well,
right?
And then I changed this stuff. Here's what I changed, and here's the results. So yeah, so I do one-on-one coaching, and then I also have an 8-week course called the Workbook, which I actually wrote on the KISS cruise.
Oh, really?
So yeah, because it was about a year from when I had said I quit doing bar gigs, and then within 9 months I was playing with Ace. But along the way I was broke. I had a bunch of KISS belt buckles. I sold my belt buckles, paid my rent, all this shit. But then it's okay. But then 3 months later, I'm playing in New York City, Times Square with Ace Frehley.
Sure.
Starting first song is "Rip It Out," and Anton Fig is standing 20 feet away from the stage.
Oh, man.
I'm like, okay, I'm doing something that works. This works.
Right.
And so I wanted to put that all together, and I just started writing out literally day by day. Okay, today's day 1. This is what we're going to do. Day 2 came out to be 56 days, so it's basically 8 weeks. And but I wrote it on the KISS cruise because there was essentially no internet, no cell service.
Right.
I would wake up, I'd go get breakfast, get an espresso. Some guy had given me a box of cigars. I go sit on the balcony of my room, smoke a cigar, and start writing. And spend hours every day writing. So it was really, I was really in the zone with that.
Nice.
And so anyway, so there's that as well. And so, yeah, that's something that I feel like a lot of times guys, especially I think guys that are musicians or in public, have a public career, where they're visible, you want to present a certain image, it's fuck all that, man. I'm here because of making decisions and taking action that I would never have taken before, and I got my head straight and I took the action and my life has changed, and I want to share that. So I'm not concerned with people knowing all the secrets, you know what I mean? So yeah. I'm happy to be able to give that back and share that with other people, because there's a gap between all of us have a gap between our potential and our reality.
Sure.
And it's and so many times musicians think, well, I just need to be a better musician. No, that's not why you're not getting work.
Right.
That's not the,
That's a great point. And to me, listening to your story today, it's very unique in the sense that most people who make it in the industry do it at a younger age than you did, right? So they're usually in their early 20s or earlier, sometimes teenagers. So to me, you offer a lot that a lot of other musicians who have made it maybe can't. Like you said before, you tried it one way, you weren't successful, you adjusted the way you thought, and now you could say, hey, this is what didn't work, and this is what did work, and you could offer that. And I think it's amazing to offer something like this to people and to fans. And they could go through your Facebook page, you said, in order to get this?
Yeah, they can go to mattstarcoaching.com. Starr has 2 R's.
Yep.
Or they can just message me on Facebook. That's fine too. And I think a lot of times if someone might be doing all the right stuff, but they don't know how to articulate that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when someone just has it, like I watched a video with Ace, he's explaining his guitar, how he plays, and he's like, I don't really know what I do, I just do it. And it's like, yeah, because he's a natural.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if you had somebody who just wasn't really good at guitar, but they learned how to get good, and then it's like, oh, I can tell you what actually worked, you know? Absolutely. So I think I'm uniquely qualified to be able to articulate that.
Absolutely. And then for the KISS fans, or I'll say even for the non-musicians on your site, you do sell drum heads, drumsticks, right? I think stage play, drum heads and drumsticks. So if people are interested in that, they can contact you through your Facebook page there as well?
Yes, same thing. Yeah, all through the Facebook page is kind of the easiest way to get in touch with me. And again, that was just something that I thought. I did a tour with Mr. Big. I bought these wrestling shoes because we always have wrestling shoes. So like we're going to South America. I got these gold wrestling shoes. They were literally gold. They were cool. I put them on and I played them for the whole tour in South America. And then at the end, I was like, hey, I don't want to play these again. They're kind of like a special occasion. So I just posted them. And again, I'm not equating myself to Alex Van Halen or anything, but as a kid, if I had somebody that I admired, and it's like, you could have his shoes from the freaking, that would be cool, man, you know? Absolutely. So I was like, let me post them, and like, boom, they were gone in 2 seconds.
Wow. So
it just made me understand, again, with all humility, that, you know, pieces of these shows or things that are part of what we do, it has value to people, especially if they were there.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And it was used on a concert that they watched, and you played Shock Me with these sticks. Like, hell yeah, man, you know? So that's something I enjoy doing. And again, the fan in me gets why people are interested. You know, it's a cool thing.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, you said before about selling your belt buckles. I've actually sold 90% of my personal collection in the last 2-3 years, because now I say I like to collect experiences. Right? To me, having a belt buckle on a shelf meant something when I was 20. It means nothing when I'm closer to 50. I'd much rather have that experience of, hey, I was at a concert and I took this home from the concert. Or if I was a musician, I would be all over your office. Hey, I want you to play drums on this song. If you're interested, can you produce this? To me, those experiences are what I'm going to remember at 70 and 80 years old. I'm not going to care about a belt buckle on a shelf collecting dust.
Right. And I will say to that point too, you know, I let those belt buckles. I had so much shit. I had all the Mylar posters. There was like a warehouse. Yeah. I used to go to record conventions. There was a warehouse find in like the mid '90s.
Oh wow.
So there were boxes of those Mylar posters, and there's pink tissue paper in between each one. So it was like the kind of the Barry Levine shot. Then there's another one, this goofy one from Japan in '76. They're holding this red thing. Then there's the 4 individual shots. Yep. So I had all of this stuff mint. I had 2 of the 3 giant posters.
Sure.
Dead mint in the tube. I had all the solo posters, et cetera, et cetera. So I had all this stuff, and I was like, God damn it, man. You know, like, you know, I wouldn't have let it go if I wasn't hurting for money. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to hang all these in my house? You know, like, I'm just going to let it go. And the joy that I saw come back from people that said, you know, I've been looking for this, like the Chopper motorcycle poster. I've been looking for the Gene 1 or the group shot for 20 years. My collection is complete, or I never thought I would get one in this condition. Oh my God. And so it was really a cool experience.
Sure.
And then I talked about this, and 2 weeks ago, Brian Bowles, who's just, you know, a guy that I've seen on my Facebook, I know him from shows. He goes, I think I have a belt buckle somewhere. I'll send it to you. It's a Mexican KISS belt buckles, Peter Chris.
Okay.
And he sends it to me, and I did a little video, and I said, thanks. And I go, I've never seen this before. And John 5, he's got Knights in Saint and Service, which is his Instagram, and he posts up. He goes, congrats, dude. He goes, you've got a really rare belt buckle. So then I end up getting like the rarest of all the rare at the gift from somebody. Because of, so again, this stuff just all goes around. So like you said, it's about the experience, and they're just things. And then anyway, if it's important to you, it comes back anyhow.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, so I purchased the drum head from you because, and it was just a matter of which show was I going to get the drum head from, not if I was going to get one, because to me, that's part of the experience of saying, hey, I was at the show and I'm taking a piece of it home with me. And, you know, again, go to your Facebook page, anybody who's watching, if you're interested in that type of stuff, reach out to Matt. To me, the prices are very reasonable, and it's a way to take home a piece of the show. And I want to thank you for offering that, actually.
Absolutely. Yeah, my pleasure. And thank you.
Awesome. So what's in store for you for this year? I know Ace only has a couple of shows lined up right now in June. Is it going to be more Ace shows? Are you going to be doing any other gigs? I know you mentioned before Black Swan, maybe not. Anything else?
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Right now everything's getting canceled. Not the Ace dates.
No, I know.
I mean, Live Nation, as we are doing this today, is middle of March, and Live Nation has postponed all their tours. Phil X was just out in Europe. They cut that short. Billy Sheehan was out. Sons of Apollo. They cut that short. So that's what's happening right now. So I will be playing. I've been playing with Michael DeBars, and Michael's great singer, rock and roll legend. So we've been doing shows around Hollywood, and we're talking about going to Japan and stuff. So again, it's just all with the travel. So right now I'm home. I'm producing bands, doing the career coaching thing, and I'm also working on a couple different records that I'll be able to tell you about later. And then with the Ace dates too, based on last year, there's a couple dates there, but that's how it started. And then we end up getting a little cluster around each of those, and then next month there's another cluster. So again, that's not an official word, but that's how things went last year. So I can't imagine we're going to go to Atlantic City and do one show and then go, okay, everybody fly home.
Right, exactly. It doesn't make sense from a cost point of view to do that.
No, not at all.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely keep a lookout for that. Matt, anything else that I didn't ask you about that, you wanted to bring up today for any of the fans that are watching?
No, I think I'm good, man. I just, express my gratitude, to all the fans. The KISS fans are just so cool. And it's such a special, group of people. And I would have these experiences like when I was 19, 18, I'd be out, rocking out and my hot girlfriend. And, then I ended up talking to some like old biker, and she'd go, God, why am I, and then she'd be stuck talking to the guy's old lady. And she's like, why are you talking to that guy? I go, why, he's a KISS fan. He had a patch. I said, Peter Chris. It was like, it's just a connection. Absolutely. And after having done the cruise, which I had never done a cruise at all before, let alone a KISS cruise, it was just, I got off an elevator and a guy walks by and takes a Gene Simmons KISS card and puts it in my shirt pocket. Just walked by, just boom, didn't even like say hi, and I'm like, fucking off,
That's cool, right.
It's great, yeah, it's great. So, it's just a special community. So yeah, again, you guys have been so cool and welcoming, and so I hope it's a good experience for everybody, to be in contact and have the conversation that we have, and thanks to you for having me on the show today too.
No, I know we've been talking about doing this for a little bit, so thank you for making the time today to chat with me. And Matt, I look forward to seeing you at the Kruisefest show, and who knows where else on the road maybe in 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Matt. I appreciate the time today.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Alrighty, there you have it. What a cool interview with Matt Starr. Thanks again, Matt, for being very generous with your time. It's too bad Matt wasn't successful at getting Gene to play on Ace's album. Imagine Gene, Ace, and Paul on one song. That would have been really cool. Go check out Matt's page if you're interested in having him do any drumming on your demos, producing for you, or even just some coaching. Also, if you're interested in buying any of those drum heads or drumsticks, go contact him on his Facebook page as well. Once more, hit that subscribe button on my YouTube channel below, and head on over to my Facebook page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. That's it for this time. Till next time, thanks for watching.